Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. Let me give you some background first. I'm a freelance artist who does commissions online, and this whole situation took place when I was in my mid-20s, around 2019. There was this artist who claimed to be a professional and worked in the mainstream comics industry. I'll call her Samantha. I started noticing how Samantha's artwork looked incredibly similar to some popular animated shows and movies I'd seen before. After doing some research, I found that her pieces were almost exact copies of official art from those properties. She was blatantly tracing and reproducing copyrighted artwork, then selling prints and merchandise based on those plagiarized designs through her online store. There was no attempt to transform or parody the original work, it was just straight up theft. I reached out to Samantha privately, explained the situation, and warned her about the legal risks of copyright infringement. Artists have been sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars and even faced jail time for this kind of thing. Instead of taking it seriously, she lashed out at me, called me a liar, and posted about our exchange on social media, tagging my accounts. That's when the harassment started. Samantha's fans, including her little clique of artist friends, bombarded me with vile messages, insults about my art, and even death threats. It was a full-on campaign of cyberbullying that lasted for weeks. I had panic attacks from the constant barrage of hate. The final straw was when Samantha directly traced one of my original character designs and started selling merchandise based on my art without permission or credit. At that point, I didn't know how to find a lawyer or what legal options I had. I felt helpless and angry. Then it hit me. If I couldn't take action myself, maybe the companies whose intellectual property she was violating could do something. Samantha never credited any of the artists or studios she stole from, so I did some digging to find staff members at those companies. I messaged one guy, Marcus, who worked for an animation studio overseas, and sent him side-by-side comparisons of their artwork and Samantha's tracings. Marcus simply replied, "We'll contact our legal team, thanks for the heads up." A week later, Samantha's print store was shut down. Her social media rants disappeared. She went silent and stopped associating with her little posse of friends. When fans asked what happened, she claimed those people were toxic hypocrites, and she'd cut ties with them. One of her former friends even reached out to someone I knew, crying about what a bully Samantha had been. It was glorious karma. If she had just listened to my initial warning, none of this would have happened. Her lack of professionalism and entitled attitude are what brought her down. Fast forward about 5 years to 2024, and I heard through the grapevine that Samantha has struggled to get hired in the industry due to allegations of copyright infringement hanging over her reputation. Apparently, Marcus's company ended up suing her over the art theft, which was a huge black mark on her record. So, in summary, I gave Samantha a chance to stop infringing copyrights, but she arrogantly brushed it off. When she stole my own art, I tipped off a company she'd plagiarized, and they took legal action that ultimately ruined her business and tarnished her career prospects. The next one is an entitled People Story. My wife Jane and I worked hard to be able to afford our dream home, a beautiful house overlooking the ocean. The panoramic view of the sparkling blue water was the main reason we fell in love with the place. We looked forward to unwinding on the balcony with a glass of wine, soaking in the gorgeous sunsets each evening. A few months after moving in, we got new neighbors, the Johnsons. They seemed nice enough at first, but it wasn't long before problems started cropping up. It began small, complaints about noise if we had friends over on the weekend. Then they started hassling us if we parked too close to their driveway. We tried to keep the peace, but it was clear they viewed us as an inconvenience. The real issues began when Mr. Johnson started constructing a massive wall on their property. I'm talking a gigantic 26-foot concrete monstrosity. It completely blocked our view of the ocean. Our jaw-dropping sunsets were replaced by a stark gray eyesore. I walked over and kindly asked if they could build the wall on the other end of their land since it ruined our view. Mr. Johnson brushed me off, claiming he could do whatever he wanted on his property. Things escalated when we received a notice from the city ordering us to take down the wall on our property. We were baffled and went to confront the Johnsons. That's when we learned that Mr. Johnson had poured the concrete foundation for his wall across our property line. He smugly told us to deal with it, expecting us to cover his mistake. By this point, my patience had worn thin. I informed Mr. Johnson that if he didn't rectify this issue immediately, I would get lawyers involved. He laughed in my face, convinced I was bluffing. Big mistake. I called up my attorney friend David, and he helped me take the Johnsons to court over this illegal monstrosity. In court, we provided surveys clearly delineating our property line. It was obvious that over 10 feet of the wall's foundation arrogantly encroached on our land. We also had multiple witnesses attesting that Mr. Johnson was aware this was our property. Our lawyer stated that we were seeking removal of the portion illegally occupying our land. Since taking down just that section could destabilize the entire wall, we wanted the Johnsons to take responsibility for dismantling the entire structure and rebuilding it set back on their own property, not ours. The Johnsons' lawyer tried arguing that the wall was mostly on their land and that we were exaggerating the issue. He claimed it would be too expensive and time-consuming to take down the whole wall, but the judge wasn't having any of it. She reprimanded them for knowingly building on land that wasn't theirs without permission. In the end, she ruled fully in our favor. The Johnsons were ordered to demolish the entire illegal wall at their own expense. They were also fined for trespassing and forced to pay damages for the headache they caused us. As if that wasn't enough, the judge also mandated they build the new wall at least 50 feet back from the property line on their own land. She forbade them from selling the house until this was done so that they couldn't pawn the problem off on some other unsuspecting buyer. The look of disbelief on the Johnsons' faces was priceless. They never expected their underhanded scheme would backfire so spectacularly. But justice was served. Their selfish, illegal wall was torn down shortly after, and they were left with hefty fines, plus the cost of rebuilding further within their own property lines. Now, with that eyesore gone, our view is back and more breathtaking than ever. Jane and I are finally able to enjoy the stunning vistas from our balcony again. The Johnsons definitely learned their lesson. Don't mess with us. All their scheming to block our view only ended up costing them big time in the end. This goes to show, bullies like them may think they can get away with acting entitled and disregarding the rules. But if you stand up for yourself and fight back legally, you can topple their lies. It may take some time and effort, but the justice system can work in your favor. We're just glad we got the ocean view back that we rightfully deserve to enjoy. The next one is a petty revenge story. So, this happened about 20 years ago. We had lived in a small terraced property for about a year before our neighbors changed. These were 100-year-old cold and uninsulated homes, and the walls between them didn't block noise particularly well. A nice couple moved in next doors and they seemed pleasant and polite. They said they would be having a moving-in party, so we thought nothing of it as we're quite tolerant. The following weekend, Friday or Saturday, can't remember, but it didn't disrupt work for us. The party started and ended in the early hours. No drama, all okay, we thought. Until a couple of weeks later, and the weekend after that, and so on. As the year progressed, it was warmer in the evenings, and they liked to stand outside the back door, which was almost underneath our bedroom window. Our patience was wearing thin at this point, and one particularly warm evening when we wanted the window open to cool the room down. There was no chance due to the music, shouting, and smoke wafting up to our window. I had reached breaking point, and asking them nicely didn't change anything. I made the decision and searched my man drawer, which still included random items from earlier years. I located a carefully wrapped, pristine packet of stink bombs, the mini glass bottle ones. We made sure the lights were off and carefully opened the window. I listened for a while and followed the ebb and flow of music and conversation. I timed the next peak and dropped the stink bomb out of the window. I could just hear a faint chink as it smashed. Then several seconds later, the loudest shouting we'd heard for several weeks, followed by a scream and a slammed door. Then quiet for the rest of the night. They never said anything after that, nor did we, but the parties were always a bit quieter and shorter after that. I still have a couple stored just in case, as you never know. The next one is a malicious compliance story. Back in mid-90s at age 19, I bought a little used car from a used car dealership. No car they sold was overly expensive, nothing under 3 years old. The CA bought had an outstanding recall, so the used car dealer was taking it to Ford for me. So after driving it for a week, I dropped it off to the dealer to take to a Ford shop. Dropped it off and was given a loaner. Get a phone call later that mechanic was in accident and car damage bad. He was okay. There ultimately a dispute on who was responsible for causing accident. Car was not repairable, nor would I want it after repairs. The person who called was asking me about insurance coverage. I straight away said that it's on them. My insurance company also got involved too, as other driver made a claim. The dealer also tried to say my insurance would cover me a loaner vehicle. You had to be 25 to rent from Enterprise. I was 19, nor should I put that on my insurance. Nope, I said I'm keeping the loaner they provided me originally till it's worked out. 2 weeks later, the owner agreed to replace car and cover damages, keeping my insurance out of it. Maybe the fact I knew and worked for a lawyer friend had something to do with his decision, and a nice letter my lawyer friend sent. The owner said, "Come pick any car you want off the lot." Great, I'll take the loaner vehicle. It was nice and drove great. Owner says, well, that's my wife's fully loaded car she likes to drive. We were figuring something similar to your previous car. My lawyer friend immediately, who came with me, and sure no nonsense occurred, says you just contracted verbally he could have any car on the lot. The loaner is on your lot, dealer tagged, and is on your books as a vehicle for sale, and given how this issue was handled, dealers would get cars in and drive them on dealer tags for personal use. The owner's wife was doing that with the loaner they gave me, thinking originally I'd only have it for a day. Needless to say, the loaner vehicle was signed over to me, left with a $7,500 fully loaded car versus my $4,500 destroyed car, and a signed agreement they were financially responsible. He did say any car. The next one is an entitled people story. I met my friend back in 2019 during college. We were really friends instantly and we had so much in common. But since life has moved on and we both changed, I really don't recognize her. The confident and bold girl I met isn't there anymore. My friend met her boyfriend back in 2022, and it's been horrible ever since. She has told me she thinks he's cheating on her, how emotionally abusive he is towards her, the way he screams at her, and that he encouraged her to not take birth control, and that they have unprotected intimacy. So from what she told me, I never had a liking towards this guy, but they always break up just to get back together, so this guy isn't going anywhere. My friend goes from crying over what he says and does to being so happy in a state of euphoria. It's a constant up and down of emotions. I'm engaged to the person I would love to call my soulmate. We have been together for 2 years. When we first started our relationship, my friend told me how important it is that she befriends my fiancé and that they have a good friendship. I agreed and included her in our hangouts. There have been many times I told her to let her boyfriend join us. I thought it's unfair to judge a person I never met, and I should give him a chance. My friend always pushed off the idea of a double date or would say we should do it, but never fall through. I know she would even go on a double date with her coworker. I thought maybe they have more in common because they work together. I only met her boyfriend once, and it was very awkward. We were going shopping, and she told me that her boyfriend texted her that he's cold at work. She ended up buying him a $130 jacket, and we had to go drop it off to him. I tried to insist to her not to because of how expensive it is, but there was no getting through to her. She decided we had to drop it off at their work. They work at the same place. When we got there, she told me to stay in the car, and I felt stupid staying in a car. I told her that's silly, and if it's really a problem if I met him. She kept arguing with me that I need to stay in the car. He ended up coming out to us, and I told her it's awkward if I stay here. So I ended up meeting him, and he ignored her the whole time. He didn't thank her for the jacket, and he kept trying to talk to me. He asked me about myself and what I'm ordering when we have dinner. It was very weird, and then after that, my friend was crying in the car that he didn't thank her for the jacket and that he ignored her. For another example, I went out to dinner with her and her brother, I'm friends with him too, last Friday. She got into a bad argument with him, and she was devastated, like no matter how much we tried to help her, she was inconsolable. After an hour, her mood changed and all was fine again. She told us she's dropping off dinner for her boyfriend. Then when we got to his place, she parked away from his house and told us it's best that we stay here. Her brother said that it's rude towards her boyfriend if we park away from his house, like it could show she's embarrassed of him or where he lives. She told her brother he's right, and of course we were told to wait in the car. For some additional information about me, my fiancé and I have to do long distance for a bit due to visa reasons. We're doing the K1 fiancé visa, so he'll be back anywhere from August-December. We have been apart since June, but I do go and visit him during my work vacations. My friend constantly mentions that when my fiancé comes back, we have to go out on a double date. She said it so many times that I don't think she's excited for me for him to come back, rather just for her boyfriend to come out with us. I have told her I'm fine and happy to go out with them and explained it could take a while for my fiancé to come back. She insisted she rather wait. She said it the other night that my fiancé needs to come home so we can double date. I asked her, why can't it be us? Why do we have to wait for him? She said that she rather wait for everyone can be comfortable. I don't know what that even has to do with anything. I'm perfectly fine and comfortable to go out with them, like I don't need my fiancé to have fun. The other factor is he won't be back until 8 months. My friend knows that, and when I tried explaining to her that it might take a while until he comes back, and when I told her that, she just said, well, time moves fast, and before you know it, he'll be here. It just sounded stupid, so I didn't even try to carry on with that conversation. I am really confused. She always mentions wanting to double date just for it to never happen. They have been together for 2 years, and I never met this guy, but she puts such an importance on being friends with my fiancé. She also double dates a lot with her coworker and their husband, then she proceeds to tell me how amazing her double date was. I'm so tempted to ask her if she thinks I'm an idiot, and I really want to ask if she's embarrassed me or of her boyfriend. I just don't know why she makes it a big deal to have a good friendship with my fiancé, but I can't even hang out with her and her boyfriend. The next one is an entitled parent's story. This actually happened a long time ago. My parents have 3 sons and I'm the oldest. I've always been an above average student, a good boy, etc. My medium brother is a disaster. He's in jail right now. My youngest brother was born with a disability and he will never be able to manage his own life. From ages 16 to 22 approx. My parents always told me that I had to take care of my little brother when they die. Now I understand that the state will take care of him. However, today, during a therapy session, I told my group why I was so scared of talking to my parents again, and the therapist told me that my parents were wrong to put such a burden in my shoulders. I've never realized that before. Edit. Context. I live in a country where Social Security granted by the state is very good. I know that when my brother grows up, he'll be taken care of by people who get paid to do so. I didn't know that as a kid. Of course, I'll still be in contact with him, call him regularly, go for walks together and stuff. That therapy session was actually part of my rehab program. I'm there because I'm unable to take care of myself. I've been diagnosed depression and alcoholism. I'm not able to take care of another person, especially a disabled person in my condition. I've taken my brother out of the sea while he had an epileptic seizure. I've made tournaments to get money for research on his disease. I've worked as a lot of things as a volunteer in the event my parents organized for research. I've spent countless days taking care of him while my parents went camping or needed a break while my friends were doing teenage stuff. I've spent several nights at the hospital as a kid, unsure if my brother was going to survive that night. I've translated a lot of medical-related documents to French and English for sharing the research progress with other foundations around the world, all while having to graduate school or university. Longest example coming to mind, 90-page research progress summary. Had to be translated in less than 2 months. I can describe you even what are the incorrect pieces of DNA in my brother's body and the process that causes his brain to work improperly, while I have no idea about my own disease, multiple sclerosis. I've learnt to type with special characters for mentally challenged people in order to teach stuff to my brother. I've battled a clown with wooden swords in a stage in a raise awareness event, an event my parents took me to only because I'm the only person in the family able to speak fluently the language the event was in. In exchange, my parents gave me no attention as a kid because I was already the good one, until I stopped getting A grades in university. There, they started pressing me until I had to leave home, because my dad wouldn't allow me to have any free time. While I was away, I tried meeting my brother as many times as I could, even if it meant meeting my parents and their hurtful comments too. Some months ago, living in a big city, I called my mom and she made me want to jump into the metro railway just as the metro was approaching. After I got diagnosed depression and the doctors recommended me to go to a rehab center, my extended family and some friends helped me and supported me. However, my parents opposed that because I would be wasting 2 years. The next one is an entitled parent story. So this happened last weekend. I was flying out of JFK Airport in New York, aka one of the worst airports in the US, trying to not catch the plague. Double mask duck, yeah. When I was in the TSA line, I was surrounded by 2 families. A mom and her son behind me and 2 parents with 2 boys in front of me. The mom in front of me was tired, like she was sitting on a big carry-on bag while her husband wheeled her about tired. Dad was so focused on mom not falling off the suitcase that the boys were just darting about and trying to play with the boy behind me as well. It's 6:30 a.m., I am on 2 hours of sleep, so the world is just too much for me. But I also worked at a special needs preschool for 2 years prior to becoming a therapist, so I know how to wrangle kids on minimal sleep. I go into crowd control mode, asking the boys about their interests but reminding them we have to be quiet to talk about them. I find out the brothers are Eric, 9, and Daniel, 6, and they are really excited about going on a plane. The boys start having a quiet convo about Minecraft. The mom behind me thanks me and we actually have a nice chat about me previously working in the special needs school and how fun it was. An hour and a half later, I am boarding my plane and I see the tired mom like 5 rows back from where I was seated. She's at a window seat and she's already passed out. I sit and about 5 minutes later I see the dad and 2 boys coming on the plane. The first kid, Daniel, sits down next to me and Dad pauses for a moment just staring at me. After a minute I'm just like me. Is something wrong? I crap you not. This man proceeds to take the boarding pass out of his second son's hand, swap it with his, and tell his son to sit in the aisle seat. He then bolts to the row his wife is in. Once the disbelief wears off, the boys start asking me questions about the plane and snacks and the TV mounted in front of them. I am so exhausted I don't even fight it. I show the older one how to turn on the TV screen on seat in front of him and tell them, Miss Mindful is really sleepy, like your mom, so I am going to take a nap. Both of them tell me to have a nice nap and I pass out. I wake up 2 hours later to my tray down with a mini water bottle and a bag of cookies on it. Apparently my new friends thought I would want a snack when I woke up. Great kids. 30 minutes before we land, there's commotion behind us and what sounds like running. All of a sudden, formerly asleep mom is very much awake and looking over both kids to make sure they are all right. Both of them mention how they have been watching Moana, so they are perfectly fine. Mom then shoots her husband the neutral face of displeasure. If you don't know what that is, Google the fresh off the boat clip of it. When we get off the plane, Mom follows me to the bathroom to apologize. Apparently, she took some medication to help ease her anxiety with flying, but just knocked her. Can't be anxious if you unconscious, I suppose. Her husband was supposed to sit with the younger boy, while the older one sat with her. She freaked out when she woke up and saw her husband, and in her drowsy state she thought her husband forgot the children back at JFK, hence her panic. Apparently her husband thought it was a good idea to leave them with me because he heard me talking about working at a school and figured they would be fine with me. She apologized, and when we got out of the bathroom she made her husband apologize for abandoning our children with a stranger. The whole walk out to the pickup area, she was reminding her children about stranger danger and how they need to be careful in big places like this. Daniel gave me a paper heart he folded out of a New York City brochure, so I have a new best friend now. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.